I have a number of cards, second by Mr. Cedillo. And then left to discuss would be items 4, 5, 8, and 9. We're going to go ahead and start with cards. I have a number of cards from Mr. Herman. You can make your way up. Put 3 minutes on the clock. Mr. Herman, you have filled out cards for items 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and your general public comment.
That makes it 3.
Yes,
Including general public comment.
because of my disability, I'm talking about the appointment of Mr. Elliot Austin Kahn. Well, what I learned about Mr. Austin Kahn is he's got an MA in education and a BA as in big ass in sociology from Santa Cruz. But that's not important. It's irrelevant. And then I got the appointment of Mr. Aaron Thomas for Community Forest Advisory by the impact of the mayor. Who the fuck is our mayor? It says Community Impact Statement. None submitted. Sorry, loser. Then I go into the next item, which is item number 6, regarding what? City charter permits in letting the contracts pursuant to a competitive sealed proposal method in accordance with the criteria established by the ordinance adopted by the least 2/3 of the city council as a process by the type of a project it approves by the contracting authority. Well, I'm the authority, I'm the ratepayer, we're the stakeholders. Fuck you, Eric Garcetti, the executive directive number 5, requiring actions to include 50% reduction in the Los Angeles Department Water and Power purchase imported potable water. No, you pipe that fucking line of clean water into our community. Then I'm going to go to item number 9, Negroes. Michael N. Fior, the city attorney, report R16-0377. You see, just because I'm disabled doesn't disqualify me under the closed session of the Government Code Section 54956.9G for gangsters requires you to state publicly prior to the closed session that the subdivision of this section authorizes no closed meeting, that the legal closed session be held in confer to discuss with the audience to receive advice and from the legal counsel to receive a recovery of all liabilities. Mr. Peppa Pig, at least 65% recovery for those attorneys who worked their ass off. Sue the fucking city under Mike Fior because of all the allegations of corruption, abuse, and waste by our city elected officials who constantly put the public in liability. So this is all in the Honorable City Council of the City of Los Angeles in room 395, City Hall, 200 North Spring Street, LA, California, 90112. And now my general public comment, ma'am? Is that later or now?
No, it's all part of the 3 minutes.
Okay. Fuck all of you. That's my general public comment.
Thank you, Mr. Herman. Next speaker is Yvonne Michelle Autry. Are you here? You filled out cards for items 5, 6, 8, and your general public comment.
Yes, I'm Yvonne Michelle Autry. Thank you for an opportunity to address the City Council. Relative to item number 5, first of all, I'd like to state that, well, given the nomenclature, scientific and technical services relating to receiving water and monitoring related studies, I do believe this is relative to the fact that the water in Section 8 or disparaged or low-income buildings compared to lofts and condominiums, I do believe is a lower quality, and I believe that this is a part of an experimentation. We're being used as guinea pigs and science projects as test sites or target practice or training purposes. I don't know if some of these chemicals are used to lower the immunity and this population control. So I'm just bringing this to your attention in case you did not know that the water is polluted. Now, I'm digressing, and then this digression that I'm moving into item number 6. I lived at the Hayward Manor apartment owned by Isaac Shomoff, who of course is known as the King of Spring, and I know that water was contaminated because I saw particulate matters floating in my water, and I used to sell HEPA filters, which is a carbon-activated granular filter. So I didn't have the money to have the water tested, but I'm very sensitive, and I know I was suffering extremely very, very dry skin. So again, the majority of the units in the Hayward are Section 8, or they are affordably priced project-based voucher units. So again, I know that if I was paying market rate, possibly at one of the SB lofts, then I know that water would have been of a higher quality, and I'm objecting to this disparity, the experimentation, which leads to not only a weakened immune system, but it makes you look really ugly, and it can cause premature aging, contamination, because everything that the skin touches is absorbed into the body. I'm a licensed and certified Japanese shiatsu masseuse, and so I know about the anatomical nature of the skin. And so I just, again, in ensuring that there's a higher standard or maintenance of the purification of the water, not only for your market rate loft dwellers or your market rate upward, your higher class residents of downtown constituents, but also for those of us who are matriculating despite your attacks and despite your entrapments and despite your opposition and your negative stereotypes and character assassinations. I'd also at this time like to encourage you to vote yes for the formation of the Skid Row Neighborhood Council so that we can have greater leverage in bringing these grievances to you so that we can create positive change and lift the people up, those that have been put in the trash, so we can give them opportunity to re-enter society and recover their life skills. Thank you.
Thank you. We have 2 cards for general public comment. Mr. Hunt, are you here? Madam Clerk, please note that Mr. Michael Hunt is not in the room. Wayne Spindler, are you here? And Mr. Spindler is also not in the room. That closes public comment and all comment on all the items. Madam Clerk, can you please read item number 4 into the record?
Certainly, Madam Chair. Rafael Brito with the CLA's office. Item number 4 relates to DWP report relative to proposed contract amendment with Northwest Excavating to extend the term and increase expenditure authority for the Scattergood Olympic Cable Transmission Line. Do you have staff from DWP?
Do you have staff here? Do we have someone from the CAO's office and the department? Gentlemen, can you just give us a quick overview of the scope of what this project is and discuss the why we need the extension?
Yes, good afternoon. Bassam Abu Shakra, LA Department of Water Power Engineering Division. This contract 7422 with Northwest is for installation of conduit and substructures. It's for about 12 miles from Scattergood Generating Station to Receiving Station K. Currently, we only have one underground transmission cable that is paper, it's oil-filled, it's over 40 years old, and if that cable fails, then half the output of that generating station will be gone. It will only be used overhead. So we started this project was only for 3 years, but we encountered major delays with getting permits from Caltrans. Number one was because of the high water table, we couldn't install the conduit, and we needed to get a special permit for jack and bore. Number two, also there was issue with crossing the Lincoln Bridge. So it took 2 years to get the permit from Caltrans. So these were major delays. Now all the permits are in place. Northwest is ready. Northwest is a local company established in the San Fernando Valley. It's a woman-owned business. So they're ready to install this cable. This cable is very, very unique. It's 230,000 volt. Actually, I brought a sample because it's the only one west of the Mississippi currently. You know, this is the cable that's going to be installed in a special fiberglass conduit that have never been installed and Caltrans was not familiar with. So like I said, it took their time, but finally we got their permit and we're ready to roll. Except the contract expired end of December and we're asking for an amendment to increase the fund, which is budgeted, and increase also for additional 12 months. And I'll be happy to answer any questions.
I had a couple of questions. So one of the additional delays was due to some environmental requirements. Do we anticipate any new requirements on this project?
No, all the, like I said, all the permits are already issued, and construction is ready. Once we get your approval and City Council approval, they'll start ready to roll.
And you're confident that $4 million is going to be enough?
This is the maximum.
complete the
We
project?
added some more money because we really don't want to go back to the board and the council.
So you
we
don't
can-
anticipate any
No.
additional extensions?
We don't anticipate coming back at all. This is the maximum that we need.
Members, do you have any questions? Mr. Blumenfield?
Committee Chair,
Yeah.
I have a correction to include for the record that the CAO report has an error in reporting the maybe-weeby
The 1%?
The 1% that's identified includes just the MBE contracts. Unfortunately, I think it's a photocopy mishap, the second page, which included the WBE, was not found in my package, and it was
So
not included in my report.
It was
So
originally 19% and not 1%.
that is correct.
Okay, any other questions? No, so okay, I'm going to go ahead and move that the DWP request for authority to execute and amend to the existing agreement with the Northwest as specified. Any objections?
No.
Okay, that will be the order. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is that a cross-section of the cable?
Yes, it's heavy.
So that's the, okay.
That's really heavy.
Why don't you pass it around?
Yes.
Look at that thing, trying to figure it out.
It's 5,000 kcml. I said the only cable west of the Mississippi.
And this is a woman-owned business that you're talking about?
No, that's the woman-owned business. They install the conduit.
Oh, got
and
it.
the substructure. We buy the cable from overseas. Thank you.
Thank you. Can we go ahead and move on to item number 5? Can you read that into the record?
Item number 5, DWP report relative to proposed contract amendment with NBC Applied Environmental Sciences.
Here you go.
Oh, okay.
Okay, you want to give us a quick update?
Good afternoon, Mark Solachek from Ely Water Power with Catherine Rubin, Ely Water Power. This contract was approved by the board in 2015. Based on reviewing the work and in the nature of it, we thought it's best to go back and ask for additional 2 years without any increase in funds. And the main reason for this work is we have 3 coastal power plants and 1 hydroelectric plant. We have to do various receiving water monitoring and technical studies to comply with those permits, and this would allow us to continue and have continuity working with the regulatory agencies.
Anyone have any questions? Mr. Blumenfield?
The data that resulted in the offshore monitoring, do you have data that supports what those results were? How did that work?
Yes, in fact, I brought
Got a couple of booklets.
the books for you, the results.
And those reports show that we're in compliance with the permit conditions that we need to be in monitoring the actual ocean water at the site.
Great. So they show that they're complying with the Clean Water Act and
That's correct.
Yes.
Can you talk about why you chose to pursue an amendment rather than an RFP?
Well, primarily, we looked at in terms of the time frame and the resources involved, and we felt that since this firm's been doing the work and the benefit of continuing for 2 years, we're in the middle of working on a number of issues with the Los Angeles Regional Water Quality Control Board for long-term monitoring, and for this type of work, it's better for continuity. What we would do then, before 2020, if another contract is needed, we'd go out with a new RFP.
So the contract is an $8 million contract, but you've only expended about $1 million.
Yeah, actually,
So why do you need an additional 2 years? Why is that necessary?
well, the amount, since this was written, we've actually expended additional funds, and right now we're at $3 million that we've spent so far.
Three
And-
of the 8?
Correct. And we would, based on looking at the actual cash flow, we'd probably go about $7.5 million to $8 million if it was added for 2 more years.
Any other questions, members? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and move that DWP's request for authority to execute the first amendment to an existing agreement with MBC for professional, scientific, and technical services relating to receiving water monitoring as specified. If there's no objections? Okay. Without objections, that will be the order. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're going to, Mr. Harman, if you continue to talk, I'm going to ask you to please step out of the meeting. Well, let's go ahead and move on to item number 8.
Certainly, item number 8 relates to CAO report and City Attorney reports, resolution and ordinance relative to the issuance of Los Angeles wastewater system revenue refunding bonds. We have staff from the CAO and the City Attorney.
Should I?
Welcome.
Madam Chair, just for the record, what is before the committee are the 2 CAO reports, including the resolutions, City Attorney report, as well as the ordinance, and there is a debt impact statement that has been revised, and copies have been circulated for review.
Okay, thank you. Welcome.
Hi, good afternoon. Augusto Gutierrez with the Office of the CAO. The following is a CAO recommending the 21st supplemental resolution, including the various documents required to execute the 2017 wastewater system revenue bonds issuance. The proposed issuance includes a not-to-exceed amount of $300 million for new money bonds and 2 refunding bond series. All bonds are designated as green bonds, and green bonds are issued for capital projects that are sustainable or environmentally focused, as the city's wastewater system is inherently considered to be. The first series is approximately $229 million in par, or new money, for capital improvements to the wastewater system, and that's in line with the Bureau of Sanitation's capital improvement plan. The second series is a tax-exempt advance refunding of 2009A and 2010A bonds, and for the 2017 B series, that's approximately $112 million, and for the 2017 C, that's approximately $117 million. The total savings from the refunding are estimated to be $21.8 million in net present value savings over the life of the bonds. And the average annual debt service is estimated at $15.28 million over the 30 years, and will be repaid from the Sewer Construction and Maintenance Fund. So there is no impact to the general fund from this issuance. And the bonds are scheduled to sell on April 19th. We have to answer any questions.
Do you have anything else to add? No? Members, do you have any questions? No? If I can just have this, you have a question?
Well, is there any downside to the refunding? I mean, it seems like it's a win-win, but I mean, sometimes there's a trade-off, but is there any trade-off here?
Trade-off in the sense of Natalie Brill, CAO. We are doing a taxable series,
Right.
And the reason we're doing one taxable is because the feds only allow us to do a refunding. It's called an advance refunding, like in advance of the 90 days once. We've already done it once for these bonds, and the rate between tax exempt and taxable is so low, the difference between the rate, that we still have savings. So we're going ahead, and because the interest rates are rising, we're going ahead and doing a taxable series, and that's something new. That also brings in different types of investors to wastewater. It brings more corporate type investors, which is a good thing for the city. It just expands our investor base. I don't know if that's interesting enough to you, but.
Well, it's surprising because usually you don't see us moving into taxable with
No,
that
but,
reason.
you know, even with the raise in interest rates that we've been seeing in the last 6 months, the taxable is still, you're still having 9% of savings, and our policy speaks to 3% of savings. So the fact that we have savings on the taxable side is a good thing. So.
Just take it while we can get it. It's still there.
Anyone else? See no other questions. I just want the CLA's office to clarify and specify the action in front of us today on this item.
Certainly, Madam Chair. So what you have before you is you have several reports. You'll be approving the report submitted by the CAO's office on March 30th, as well as a report which you say submitted yesterday, April 4th, the debt impact statement, as well as the ordinance. It'll be those 4 elements that you'll be moving forward. If there are any technical adjustments, we could work with the CAO's office and the clerk to prepare the appropriate transmittal for Friday's consideration.
Okay, very well. So I'm going to go ahead and move that the CAO report and the city attorney's ordinance relative to the issuance of wastewater system revenue refunding bonds and related resolutions as specified. Any objections? No objections. Seeing none, that will be the order. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're going to go into closed session now. Sergeants, can you please prepare the room? Anyone here on item number 9?
For what?
Lawson. Water rights. Something about the water.
Mr. Schiff has stepped up, huh?
Who? Oh my God, he was on. The other day I was telling Jerry, he's even on The View. He was on The View with Whoopi and like, he's really impressive. I mean, taking on Devin, I love it. What a guy. He's the highest ranking member, right? That committee. What's going on over here? What is going on in that office over there? What is that?
They were doing ITA.
Yeah, we don't know that. Surveillance.
Yeah, he stepped up more.
Or what?
I served with him.
With Adam? Who was he in the Senate or the Assembly? Or both?
Assembly, then Senate.
Hold on.
Just
Because we saw them walk in.
Oh, she got to do the report.
Well, do you want to go ahead and report
Certainly, would you like me to report the
report
action of
back
committee?
the actions that we took in closed session? Yes.
Certainly, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, and members of the committee sought to approve City Attorney's request to provide ongoing litigation monitoring and outside counsel as specified.
And that was approved unanimously? Okay, well, I don't have any more cards. We had already closed public comment. on all items and general public comments, so that concludes our meeting. Thank you very much. Our meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, Madam Chair.